Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds. Okay, go. 2 seconds, sorry. It's,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dundee GovJam. I'm really pleased that you could turn up. A 5 o'clock start on a Tuesday afternoon. It's not the best, really, is it? But we'll try and make this fairly lively. We've got a couple of hours where we're going to do a little bit of light work, introduce what we're doing over the next 2 days, etc. Then we're going to eat. And as I'll explain, there's going to be lots of eating at this event over the next 2 days. So I hope you're here relatively hungry. Thanks so much for turning up. Our suspicion is that this is probably going to be one of the best attended GovJams in the world. They're taking place. Melbourne started this morning. They act as GovJam HQ this time. Last year it was Leeds. This year it's Melbourne. There are GovJams in Taiwan, in India, in the Middle East, in Istanbul, across Europe, Helsinki and Berlin. And it's like Eurovision for thinking of it. Without the singing, unless you want to, unless you really want to. Yeah, we will also be talking to people in Madrid, hopefully Houston as well, and elsewhere in the world. So it's a global event, and we're delighted that you can be part of it. It's a global event which is billed as 48 hours to rock the public sector. that's kind of what it does. But I think I prefer a more British, maybe a bit more of a modest way of trying to describe it, which is 48 hours to think differently. As I keep saying, the really important part of this event isn't the output, isn't the project work that you're going to do or what's going to come at the end of it. Because in 48 hours, you're not going to redesign a public service. You're going to have a crack at that, and you might come up with some brilliant ideas that have got potential. What's really important is not the output, but the outcomes. The things that you do along the way. Working with new people. Learning new methods. Experimenting. Embracing failure. Playing to your strengths. Because when we're at work, we're not really allowed to fail, are we? Right? It's kind of looked down on a bit. You could get the sack. But failure is really important. Many of us here as mentors are designers, right? There's been this international movement over the last 10, 15 years to bring together design thinking and public services, to get people who work in public services and the design community to share each other's expertise and learn new tricks. So these are going to be some of the outcomes. And it's called a jam because it's a bit like a music jam. Because you come along, if you play the music jam, you play to your strengths, don't you? You want to learn new things. You want to be inspired by different people that you might not play with, otherwise. You might learn a few new chords, a few new musical tricks. You don't go to a music jam to record an album. So it's not about the output, it's about the outcome. It's the process, what you learn along the way. Everything that you need to know about what's going to happen in the next 48 hours, you will find in this handbook. So tonight, go home, take it to bed with you, read it, commit it to memory, have people test you on the content of it. If you feel a bit lost in the process, if you feel a bit unsure about what's happening, everything that you need to know is here. We sketch out what the program is, what's going to happen over the next 2 days. And in fact, there's a much more detailed version of that, which is on a magic whiteboard that Hazel probably will speak to because she's been spending hours writing it up on the wall. So this is your Bible, really, for the next 2 days. As I said earlier, a lot of eating involved. Some of you are paying 10 quid for this. Some of you are paying 5 quid for this. You get that money back after the first breakfast. So you get 2 breakfasts, 2 evening meals, and a lunch. Not bad. And this phenomenal guy here, Peter Chutney, who's an interaction designer and a brilliant cook, is going to be doing the 2 evening meals. He's done jam meals for us before. He's great. Now, tomorrow, you're going to be out on the streets of Dundee. You're going to be doing field research. You're going to be going up and talking to people about how they feel about services, right? You're gonna test out ideas on them, and you'll probably get hungry as you do it, right? Peter's not going to run around the streets of Dundee with great buckets of curry and so forth. But 4 fantastic bars and cafes are giving you 50% off food. So Gallery 48, the West House, Darcy Thompson and the Tinsmith, you have a voucher that you've got at registration. Take that along there. That gives you 50% off food, not off drink, but off food. They take this Gallery 48 as a tapas and gin bar. The point of this is not to get stocious tomorrow lunchtime. The point of this is to have an affordable lunch.
Can I just say your vouchers aren't in your books? Because I take the precaution of keeping them back in case you lose them, and we'll get the PC before you get on the bus to go to town.
Very sensible move. Okay, so you will get these vouchers. And we're going to be doing all of this activity in the Gardyne campus of Dundee and Angus College. There's a map in your guidebook which explains where you are. The things that you need to know is how to find that area through there where you'll be spending most of your time, where the toilets are, you probably figured that out already, and this room. Well, we'll be doing some. there aren't going to be many talks, you know, and if we do have talks, they'll probably, apart from the ones this evening, because we're trying to tell you what's going to happen, there'll be 10, 15 minutes each, and then you're going to go off and apply what you've learned. But I have to say that working with Dundee and Angus College, I haven't actually introduced myself yet. You haven't got a clue who I am. I could have just wandered in off the street. I did just wander in off the street. I didn't know where I am. I'm just using this PowerPoint randomly. So, my name is Mike Press. I'm Director of Open Change for a service design company. I'm Emeritus Professor of Design Policy. I'm one of the organisers of this event. I'll introduce other people shortly. But I have to say that working with Dundee and Angus College has been absolutely remarkable. They've organised everything from the live streaming of YouTube to all the technology, to the facilities, to getting everything sorted, the catering, etc. brilliantly. I want to introduce Karen Sandeman, who is the Business Development Manager here at the college, who's going to introduce you to the college and also take you through a bit of housekeeping.
Yeah. Hi. On behalf of the principal and staff of Dundee College, I'd like to welcome you here. I heard someone saying earlier on that they hadn't actually been here since they were a student, so they were seeing quite remarkable changes in the building. So I hope you enjoy our facilities while you're here. Just a couple of things. There's no fire drills planned. Okay, so if the fire drill does go off, then we need to make our way out the building, and the nearest exit is marked and will be out through the atrium into the open area and then round to the back car park if anything does happen, but hopefully it won't. We do have a fire duty officer on duty that will make sure everybody that gets out, and we also have first aiders on duty if anybody needs first aiders. Hopefully not, hopefully nothing dangerous. We did think about some wood and things for your prototyping, but decided that maybe hammers and nails and stuff weren't such a good idea. So but yeah, welcome. GovJam, the first time in Dundee, and certainly the first time in a further education college, and we're really pleased to be part of this. It's not our first steps into service design here at the college, but it is a start of a journey for us. We're looking not only to train our staff, we've a strategy on at the moment from good to great, and we see service design as a real way to change our services and move them to good to great, so start talking to the users, and there's a few of our staff in here today. The second step is going to be a training academy for our staff, and we're doing that with Hazel and Mike in a couple of weeks' time and rolling it out to our departments. But the third step, and one that we hope you will be interested in, is that we are going to be offering accredited training in service design. So there's a series of things happening around that. And around the Service Design Academy, which we're launching next week. We're going to be offering training in terms of service design tools and methods, user research, co-design and dissemination. And there'll be a series of ways that you can access these, and we'll be sending them out information to you. So the launch is taking place at the GovJam pop-up at the Dundee Design Festival next week. We'll be learning from here, we'll be taking stuff from here, and we will send stuff out to you. So I hope that you'll be interested in continuing to work with Dundee and Angus College on your service design journey. Enjoy the jam.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So you've got badges and you've got hello cards, which I think you all dutifully filled in so that we know who you are and where you're from. Just so that you know who's behind this, it's these organisations that really are the sponsors of it. The Open Change company that Hazel and I are from, Dundee and Angus College, Dundee City Council, Healthcare Design in Dundee, which is an academic consortium of people across design, and in particular the School of Medicine up at Nine Wells, and our very generous sponsors at Gallery 48. Over the next few days, you're going to be mentored. We've brought from, actually across Scotland, some remarkable people to work with you. And the point of mentors is sometimes to challenge you, sometimes to guide you, sometimes to provoke you, to point you in the direction of the right tools for the kind of things that you're doing. We've got Jill Patterson, who works with the Chief Medical Officer, Director at the Scottish Government, She's one of the co-authors of the Realising Realistic Medicine report. John Gill, who's a service designer working for the SSSC. Andy Young is here. Andy, show yourself.
Hello.
And your fulsome beard. Yes. A creative director, and you've worked all over the world in terms of working with companies and organisations around service design. Fiona. Service designer. Now you're based with Skills Development Scotland. We've got Rod Mountain, not just here. He's a consultant surgeon, ear, nose, and throat. So if you've got dodgy ears, he'll sort you out in the next few days. No, and he has been a most remarkable person to help engineer this link between healthcare and design. Lindsay McIntosh at the back. Make yourself known. Now, Lindsay has been organising design jams, which have been predominantly, but not exclusively, student-focused in Dundee since 2013. You teach at DJCAD, Dundee Johnson College. Anything else you want to say about what you do?
I kind of specialise in design engagement and working with people and communities to make kind of better spaces and places around the city, and I'm an associate with Open Change.
Great, fantastic. Jen Bally, is Jen here? Jen works with the business team at V&A Dundee, who again are really supportive of this whole initiative. Lisa, I know, won't be with us now because she'll be with us tomorrow morning. She's the co-design manager at Young Scott. Her job's fascinating. She works with young people, getting young people to design services around healthcare, around crime prevention, etc. How do you engage young people who are normally not the easiest people to engage in areas of policy? And she's got fantastic expertise that she can bring to this event. Stephen, where's Stephen?
Hello.
Stephen Carr, would you like to say something about what you do?
Yes, so I work for the Dundee City Council, but very much my role is about change and transformation. So we've been working with Open Change over the past year to very much see what we can do in terms of bringing service design into the public sector. And we're really interested to see how we get on with the next couple of days.
Great, fantastic. Katrina McCauley, who I will introduce properly later on, who's sitting at the front, who looks a bit moody actually in this photograph. It's something to do with the projector, I promise you. Anything you want to say at this stage?
Hello.
We've got Andy McGill. He's joining us tomorrow, a business consultant. He's going to be talking you through a business tool that you'll find really helpful. Taylor is a social designer and also an associate of Open Change. She'll be with us tomorrow morning. Jennifer Jones will be with us on Thursday. She is a specialist in digital storytelling. She worked around the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow about how do communities tell their stories about the interaction with the Commonwealth Games using new media. Sandy Thompson, the remarkable Sandy Thompson, is going to be here tomorrow morning. Sandy Thompson is a playwright. She is an actor. She's a theatre producer. She was behind, I don't know, did anyone here see Monstrous Bodies at Dundee Rep? Yeah, she wrote it and she produced it. And she is going to be here talking about, how much of this did I give away? Shoes. And you'll find it spectacular. Hazel White.
Hello.
And I'll introduce her properly later, and then there's me. But there's been lots of other people who made this event happen. So those are the mentors, basically, and they'll be coming around and working with you. Katie, who we'll hear from later. Gordon Sharp, who I don't think is here to all of our organising meetings. Karen, of course. We've got Jenna, who's up here taking photographs. Kirsty and Andrew joining us tomorrow. The remarkable Claire Hartley, who is at the reception desk, who did all the design work for free. That's one of the things. This is a volunteer-run event. None of us are actually being paid to deliver this. That's the whole point of the International Jam movement. That we do this on a voluntary basis because actually we think it's worth doing. We think it's really worth doing. And when you have people like, second-year students, really talented students who do, I hate asking students to do things for nothing, but she did a brilliant job on this. Catherine Rattray up here, who is our photography mentor for the period, and we are paying Peter. I always found it's good policy to pay your cook. Yeah, really good policy debate. Peter will be here later on this evening with his food, obviously. Sorry? Jasmine, who I forgot to put on the slide, Jasmine Simpson, who also was on the registration desk, who is our modern apprentice. And again, is doing a spectacular job for us. One of the reasons that I really enjoy jams is because you don't often think of yourself as an earthling, do you? Do you? You don't think of yourself from planet Earth. You think of yourself from Stobswell, or wherever you live. You know, if you lived in the Ferry, you wouldn't think of yourself from Stobswell, obviously. But, you know, you kind of think in quite a local way about where you're from, or maybe in a national way, or British way. But, you know, you don't really think of yourself as an earthling. Next 2 days you will. And it's really important that you do. It's really important that you do. Because all of you have in your pocket or your bag, you have a computer, a small computer that can send messages to anyone else on the planet using social media, using Facebook, using Twitter, Instagram, right? So do you? Do you send messages to lots of people across the planet? No, you probably send messages to your pals in Stobswell, right? And that's the limits of how we use this fantastic technology. We're going to push those limits for the next 48 hours, right? I want you to tweet. There'll be a big Twitter screen outside where you will see all the jammers from all the jams across the world tweeting each other. We have a Twitter account, GSJ Dundee. All of this is in your guidebook. There are different hashtags to follow. There's the Dundee GovJam hashtag and the global GovJam hashtag. We encourage you to not only look at that screen and see what's happening, but if you look and say, oh, right, in India, they're doing some quite interesting work. They're doing a similar project to us. I'll tweet them. You know, we're doing a similar thing. Shall we Skype later today? That's what we want to encourage you to do. We can only solve the problems in the public and voluntary sectors if we work internationally. If we just work locally or nationally, we can't. And the other thing that we do is that we reinvent the wheel. So this is an opportunity to figure out actually how we do communicate with other people. So there's this screen outside. You can see the all the different tweets coming in under different hashtags that we've got going. On our website, we put a lot more information. If you go to dundeegovjam.com/connect, that isn't in the guidebook. Then I've listed, or I've taken from somewhere else, a listing of every other Twitter handle that we can find and Twitter hashtag for jams taking place across the world. So that's dundeegovjam.com/connect. And things that we'll be doing over the next 2 days is that we'll be using that big screen to talk to people. We'll be hooking up later tonight with, I'm not sure who, but we'll hook up with someone, probably Leeds. I know that doesn't sound very exotic, but for them it is. No, honestly, the Leeds are fantastic. Leeds, and there's a great video that's looping outside of Tom, who works for the Department of Work and Pensions in Leeds, and it is his video diary of his experience of doing GovJam 2 years ago. And Leeds were the global HQ last year, and they do some fantastic work because they've got big government departments and a big city council, again, like here in Dundee, who's really committed to that kind of work. So we'll hook up with Leeds, we'll hook up with other people. But it's one thing to do it around a big screen like that, but actually as this process goes on and you start following people and start having conversations offline, start doing things on your tablet or your laptop, it turns into something else. It turns into this wonderful, internationalist, intimate conversation across the planet about how we make public services better. This was a scene at our last jam, a jam 2 years ago, where we were talking to people in Beirut. We were a bit delayed because the one power station in Beirut had gone down that morning, right? So we couldn't get through to them. But we were gathered around the laptop, and that's what it looked like from the other side, talking to them about the work that they were doing. One of the questions we asked you on the hello card was, what languages do you speak? Now, so far, we've been lucky that English is this kind of international language. Post-Brexit, who knows what's going to happen. I think all those modern language departments at universities systematically closed down will start opening up again. But in the meantime, for us, it's really important, I think, if you do have languages, let us know, because yes, all the people in Berlin and Madrid, they do speak English, but it's great if we can kick off in their language and start the dialogue in that way. But also it gets down to one-to-ones. Last year, this was Rod Mountain, who's going to join us a bit later on, and one of the jammers talking on an iPad on Skype to a Syrian refugee who lived in a refugee camp in Germany, because they were working with the refugee centre here in Dundee, and they wanted to get a sense of how that experience varied across Europe. Right, so there's lots of using computers and phones and so forth. You've got in the pack, you've got information about the Wi-Fi password, etc. And the other thing, the other slightly techie thing we're going to ask you to do is to register with GovJam, and the mentors will be helping you to do this. You go to govjam.org and you create a persona of yourself, and then you ally yourself to the Dundee GovJam, because part of the whole process is about uploading what you do, all the project work that you do, so that we archive this fantastic event happening throughout the planet. What are we going to do tonight? Tonight we will get to know each other, find out what the secret theme is, form teams around projects, talk to some jammers in other countries, and then go home. We'll try and do that between now and just about 7. Tomorrow we will eat. Breakfast is served between 8 and 9. You don't have to be here at 8 o'clock, obviously. We'll start work at 9. But breakfast will be served between 8 and 9. That's a good time just to catch up with people and also do those Skypes. We can only Skype with Melbourne really at that time of day. That's why we're kicking off then. You'll eat, you'll learn some things. You go out and talk to people. We'll tell you what is involved in that tomorrow morning. You'll eat and try and lay off the gin as much as you can. Come back and tell everyone what you're doing. Learn some things in design. Eat, and then talk to some jammers in other countries, and then go home. That's really what tomorrow's turning into. And on Thursday, we'll eat, fix the technology, learn some stuff, and do some more work, finish our design work, and share what we've done with the world. This thing about uploading everything to Planet Jam, as it's called. So what's really important is the collaboration that takes place, the meeting new people, going out on the streets and engaging with people, talking to citizens, and doing that in an engaging way. And trying to think, how do you do that in a kind of visual way? Collaborating with people around new ideas and new ways of doing stuff and making things, prototyping. Andy, tomorrow morning, is an expert in prototyping. He's going to get you doing some prototyping, actually, here. And yeah, so making things, we can explain ideas much more if we make it physical, if we can walk people through what our proposed service is. This was a jam about 3 years ago where we were looking at how you build up skills in the community. Right? How do you make it physical? How do you communicate these ideas in an engaging way? This was not a great photograph, but it was a soup wagon. The idea was for a soup wagon that would go around the streets of Dundee. So they made it out of cardboard, a half-size model of a soup wagon, etc. The point I made at the start, there are outputs and there are outcomes. The projects that you produce, which are great, are really important. And in producing those, all of these outcomes arise. New skills, tools, techniques you learn, new connections, future collaborations made, new attitudes to working, new energy which can go back into your daily lives, new international links, knowing how to use design better. And we're doing it because this is important, is it not? This small dot in space, planet Earth. And we're going to be Earthlings for 2 days. And I'm not saying that design can save the world, but I'm saying that if we use design wisely, intelligently, in an inclusive way, we can identify problems better, we can understand people's needs better, and we can work collaboratively to come up with appropriate solutions. Final point I'm going to make is about, well, what is design? I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, So it's all about making things. It's physical and how things look like. This is a good quote. Design is a funny word. Some people think design means how it looks. But of course, if you dig deeper, it's really how it works. That is what you'll explore in the next 2 days. How services work and how they can work better. That's a great quote. And it came from a great designer, actually, Steve Jobs. That was his view about what design was. That a great computer, it's not just what it looks like, it's how it works. Okay, the other thing you're going to do is you are going to get open badges as this 2 days goes on. So I'll pass you over to Katie Bain.
Thank you. Hello everyone. As Mike says, I've been one of the organisers for this year's GovJam, and I'm going to be introducing you to open badges. Open badges have never been used as part of GovJam before, so I'm going to quickly run over how they work, what they are, what badges we're going to be offering over the next 2 days, and how you can register to get them. So, open badges are basically digital online visuals, and we are looking at replacing paper certificates. Because basically everything's digital now, you don't want to be looking for certificates every couple of years when you're going for a new job. These are housed online, they're on a backpack, you can access them anywhere, you can take them anywhere, you can share them anywhere. They can be used on your social media, e-portfolios, LinkedIn, Facebook, anything. The reason that we're using them and that they're better than paper certificates is that they hold all of this information behind each badge. So when a future employer is looking at these badges, they can tell what the badge is for, how you achieved them, who issued it, how long it's available for, if it expires. And you can basically present these in any forum online. It's fantastic. So over the next 2 days, we're going to be allowing you to achieve them. We're going to be learning loads of skills and techniques and building up loads of knowledge. We want to be able to accredit you for that. So anybody can actually create an open badges platform and issue badges. So the college do it. It's also known to be done at SSC. So we want to be able to accredit you for the skills that you're picking up over the next 2 days. So if you turn to page 13 in your handbook, you'll be able to see that these ones are the ones we're going to be offering. And that comes from the workshops and from the activities that you're going to be taking part in over the next 2 days. Page 13 also, along the bottom, it gives you the links to the useful information, and that gives you all the information on how you register. We do need you to register on 2 different places. It's through our Service Design Academy website, which has recently been set up, and that's where we'll issue the badges from. So you go on there and you can upload evidence to earn your badges. Over the next 2 days, we want you to document exactly what you're doing. So you can do it via our templated PDF editable and do a portfolio review as such, or you can document it by photos, videos, your own portfolio reflection, and upload it into this site. You need to register on the Mozilla backpacks. This is your backpack for life, so you can start adding in from now and you fill it up as you're going along. You register there, and then it's the syncing of the 2 websites. Once you've done that, that's you good to set up. And once you upload your evidence, I'll be issuing badges. So I want good evidence, I want good photos, I want a good description of what you've been doing over the next 2 days. But if you've got any problems with them, hopefully not, fingers crossed, you can come and approach me anytime in the next couple of days. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So, so one of the things that you're here to do in the next couple of days is to learn about service design and understand how service design can be applied to your professional domain and how it offers tools, methods, and insights that you can make use of. And to guide us through an introduction to that, let me introduce Hazel White, who's Director of Open Change.
Hello everyone. What is service design? Does everyone here know what service design is? It's fantastic. You've all come along to a government jam about service design. And without knowing exactly what it is, but knowing that it's a good thing to do, I'm going to take you through some projects and examples just to give a take on service design. But as Mike says, we come from Open Change, which is a Dundee-based service design agency. But although we're based in Dundee, we work with all sorts of people. We work with the Scottish Government, we work with NHS Scotland. Andy and I work with the University of Cambridge. We just launched our 3rd year of an online course yesterday, where we deliver service design training to young people across the Commonwealth, from Fiji to Kenya to Canada. We took 120 young people online through this. Work with the council, work with the DNA. But are very happy to be based in Dundee and see Dundee as a city which is embracing new ways of working and working really well across different public agencies. But the whole thing about service design probably really originated in the business sector, because businesses are very good at thinking of ways of selling more stuff. And for example, the car industry now talks about not selling cars, but about selling mobility. So you move on to different schemes where you lease your cars rather than buy cars. Did you have any joy with doing anything?
Just
Just
does it
does it
occasionally.
itself.
and it'll
Another
come
good
back.
example of this is services like Amazon, whatever we think of Amazon as an employer, is very good in guiding people through the actual process. This is my Amazon account. This was my Amazon account on Sunday. And it tells you that I had ordered a tens machine for my father, and it's getting delivered to his home address. In fact, it was out for delivery on Monday. It also tells you about the Play-Doh that I ordered that's actually been arrived, and we know where everything is. And so I've got a really good sense of what my relationship with that company is and where I am in the process. And at any time I can go into my order history and find out what's going on with the things I've ordered or bought. And likewise, very complex organisations like Transport for London, which is running the most complex bus, train, underground network in the world, is constantly changing and thinking about how people experience the service. And that's gone from paper tickets to the Oyster card to the last time I was down in London at Easter, you don't even need an Oyster card anymore. You just put your contactless card on the machine, and at the end of the day, it calculates what was the cheapest way of you getting all those journeys. So it actually works out whether if you've done a lot of journeys, you would have been cheaper buying a day card, so it charges you for a day card. It doesn't charge you for the individual journeys. It's a very complex system that's worked out to be the best service for the people using it. And again, if we move into other services like health services, you have amazing organisations like Macmillan who work with people across different services, across primary healthcare, across secondary healthcare, guiding them through their cancer journey, not seeing them as someone that's in ENT or in oncology or in radiology, but taking them right through that journey and seeing that whole journey through with them. Because if you don't do that, you end up with dead badgers on reception desks. This is a story I heard last week from Glasgow service design company Snook. I was based on a member of the public who'd come out in the morning and found a dead badger on the road. What would you do in Dundee, Stephen, if you found a dead badger on the road?
One pest control.
Well, I can't tell you what council this was, but the person who found the badger had gone through the council website and could not find anywhere to tell what to do. So they'd actually just put it in the boot of the car, driven to the council and slapped it on the desk. Because it turned out what they should have done is they should have looked up underneath bulk uplift. Badgers are heavy, I guess. So that's what happens. If you don't make things easy for people to use, this is what happens. But it's not all about digital service. Quite a lot of the examples I've shown you there are digital services. It's about other services as well. This happened to me actually in November last year. I was going down to Edinburgh to run an event with the Scottish Government. And I don't really trust any of the online train ticket companies. I'm never really that sure I'm getting the best value for money. So I always go down to the Dundee railway station and just look. I usually don't have to stay at night because I know it's quiet. And I just go to the desk because I know that they are legally obliged to give me the cheapest ticket if I say, give me the cheapest ticket to Edinburgh tomorrow. They have to give you. So I was down there at 8:30 at night, and this man kind of ran past me and brushed past me, and I was quite kind of distressed. And I got my ticket. And then he ran back into the station, and he shouted to the girl behind the desk, is there a public phone in here? And she said, no, the nearest one, I think it's at Tesco's. So he ran out, he ran past me, and then he ran back again. And I said to him, do you need a phone? You can use my mobile phone. And he said, would you? And he was so distressed, he just handed me a letter. And it was from Castle Huntly, the old prison, which is not far from Dundee. And he'd been let out on day release to go to Glasgow to talk to young people about how to avoid getting into crime and getting into prison. He was going to train young people into how to lead lives and make good choices. And Castle Huntly had supported him to do that. And he'd gone. What they hadn't thought was how he was going to get back. The letter said, when you get to Dundee train station, phone a taxi on this number. Now, because of the conditions of his licence, he's not allowed to have a mobile phone. There are no mobile phones. 8:30 at night, he didn't have time to get to Tesco's and get back to Castle Huntly before 9 o'clock, where he would have breached his licence. That's why he was looking so agitated. So he was so nervous, I phoned up and I said, I've got Mr. So-and-so here, is to get a taxi, can you order it? And can you make sure you don't do that to somebody again? Because that's happens when we only design bits of service, we don't think what the experience is like for people who are moving through. So, Mike was talking about design and how we use design to think of these things. And how that helps us think about services. Well, it's things like that, like observation. Watching what it's like for people to do things. You know, actually watching people trying to do the systems and things we set up to do. And it's about visualising them, it's about mapping out what actually happens. How does that look when somebody tries to do it? But one of the really important things, I think, is naivety. And we don't often think of naivety as being a positive thing. We like to think we're all experts in something. But actually being the person who will just go along and say, why do we do it like that? Can be really illuminating. It's quite surprising how many people don't know why you do things. And the answer is very often because we've always done it like that. And just asking those questions, don't be afraid to ask the questions that you think you should know the answer to, because the chances are a lot of other people don't know the answer either. But it's also, as Mike said, it's about making things to test and share ideas, because often when we do things, when policy gets put into practice, it's designed, if we can use that word, it's written at a desk, and it's not taken out into the world to see how it will actually work. But if we can try things out and see how we work, we can see where the flaws are before we roll it out. And that's a lot of what we're going to be doing over the next 2 days. But is it another fad? I mean, how many of you have been through change or transformation programs in your organisations in the last 10 years? Yeah, so this is not just another fad. Well, it links quite well with other methods and methodologies. So, for example, Rod Mountain, the nose and throat surgeon that we worked with, sat down and looked at what quality improvement in the NHS and how service design complement each other. So quality improvement is quite often about getting feedback from patients, whereas service design, you would tend to sort of sit down and spend more time with users to get a bit more depth. About surveys, opinions, meetings, tests of change, where service design has creative thinking, empathy mapping to try and understand things, looking at trying things out. So you can use these things together, and Stephen has also used service design and mapped it onto methodologies that the City Council is already using, because there is no point in reinventing the wheel. It's actually, how does this enhance what you're doing already? Let's not throw everything away that you're doing already. Just what bits of this help you do things better? And it's very much about insights versus numbers, because you can do a survey where you can ask 100 people what they think of certain things, and you'll get maybe 10 truths from them if you've designed the survey well. But if you sit down with people and really talk to them, you can get hundreds of insights, things that you would never have actually even thought of asking them in code. But if you have conversations, you can move through into areas that you didn't think we were going to cover before. Now, I was at an event at Edinburgh University last week where the Professor of Public Management said this, which I thought was interesting for somebody to say. His research has shown that lean and work in the public sector because it became about toolkits and not about cultural change. You can have any number of toolkits and any number of methods, but if you change the way you think and put people at the centre of what you do, you won't move forward. And we've all worked with people like this. None of you, of course, would describe yourself this way, or you wouldn't be here. But this kind of thing, people who are kind of very focused on themselves, they complain a lot, they're kind of angry, a bit pessimistic. They focus on problems and kind of tend to alienate people around about them, and they can quite often be alone in the organisation. Do you know anyone like that? It's part of, people can find themselves in that position quite easily if we don't change the culture of organisations. And this is actually from the NHS England School for Change Agents. The other side of that is about being creative. It's about being passionate, about being optimistic and generating energy so you draw people around you. But it's essentially about working together. It's not about being, the great expert working on your own. It's about working collaboratively with other people. And this whole thing about working with other people is working with people that deliver services, that really know how things work, and the people that use services, because they're the ones who really know if they work. And co-design makes vulnerable people really powerful. It makes them part of that process. But the flip side of that is it makes powerful people vulnerable. And people in control can quite often feel very nervous about going out and asking people who use their services what they need. Because they're scared of what the answers are going to be. But we've done this work across lots of different sectors, from healthcare to education, where we will just bring users in, sometimes as a surprise, people. And the most common reaction afterwards, we do usually get people to do 45-minute interviews with users, sit down and talk to them. The most common reaction is, I don't know why we've never done this before. And other comments are things like, I feel absolutely humbled. And that we must do this in everything that we do. So initially it can make powerful people feel vulnerable, but once they've done it, they tend not to want to go back to any other way of working. So, Kat, I don't know whether you're going to talk a bit more about that or what.
You can feel free.
I'll talk briefly about this. Okay, so the Scottish Government have been working on a Scottish approach to service design, but essentially it's based on a model that the Design Council developed in 2005. And it's about going through a process where you start off thinking very divergently, so going out and gathering lots and lots of information from people, from observation, from research, in this kind of problem definition area. Because as human beings, we need to slow ourselves down a bit because we're actually innate problem solvers. When your friend phones you up and says you've got a problem, what do? You solve it. You say, well, if it was me, I'd do that. We're really, really keen to solve problems for people, but actually, we need to do a bit of exploration to make sure that we're solving the right problem. Otherwise, we can just be solving symptoms. So we spend quite a lot of time in this problem area to define what the problem is that we want to solve. And so we focus down on actually, right, okay, so what is the problem that we need to solve? But then we widen up again by thinking of lots of different solutions to that problem. Because the only way to have good ideas is to have lots of them. Because you have to put them out, test them, and be prepared for them not to be the best idea. And so that's what Andy will talk about when we're prototyping tomorrow. And then we begin to test those ideas and focus down into one that's actually going to be a solution. And over the course of the week, we'll be working through some of those areas. So we'll be doing field research, interviews, observations to find out what people's problems are. We'll be defining what the problems are. We'll be coming up with ideas, prototyping them, mapping people's journeys, mapping what the mission of your organisation might be, testing things, and then presenting them. So we'll be sort of taking a quick journey through parts of that design process. So, for example, this was staff on a workshop we did last year at Ninewells, where we took 30 consultants, medics, healthcare managers, Phyllis, who's in the room, round Nine Wells. And Phyllis has done this herself more recently, taking people round Nine Wells as though they were a patient. And Phyllis did this absolutely brilliantly, 10 times better than we did it, where they brought adult learners from Perth and Ross into Nine Wells. They gave them a typical appointment letter and then asked them to navigate their way around Nine Wells. Now, a typical appointment at Nine Wells, letter from Nine Wells, has Nine Wells on it as the address, for that is where the appointments department is. And that's regardless of whether you're in Perth Royal Infirmary, Strathrow, or Clydebank. So that confuses people to start with. It will say your appointment is at 10 o'clock. But further down the ledger, it will say arrive 20 minutes early because we're going to do the blood test. And so by the time the person arrives at Nine Wells for their appointment at Tayside Children's Hospital, which you wouldn't know that's what it was called if you came to 11.7 because it says paediatrics. By the time the person actually gets there, they have so much cognitive overload that despite the stress of being there because they are ill or their child is ill, it's very, very difficult to take in information. So by knowing all that, by actually shadowing people doing that, Phyllis and her team have learned a huge amount about how wayfinding, how the appointment letters, how the system can and should be changed at Nine Wells. It's also about talking with young people. This is work we did with the City Council about developing the young workforce. Actually getting young people in to talk to senior council people about what the barriers have been for them to get into work. Because the number of people applying for modern apprentices in the council was less than expected. And in relatively short sessions, we found out what the reasons for that were. It was because they didn't know about them, unless their mum worked for the council. The application process was much the same as if you were a graduate applying for a job, so it wasn't into the strengths of young people. And also once they were in that they felt quite isolated because they didn't know other young people within the council. So the council have been able to implement a lot of changes to actually make it much easier for young people to get into the council of modern apprentices and to stay with them. Some of the terms we'll use, we talk about things like touch points, and this is the thing about seeing the whole picture of any service. Anything that you touch in a service is part of it. So when you go to Nine Wells, you know, the mapping system that we've talked about, the appointment letters, we've talked about the building itself, the signage, any booklets you receive, the waiting rooms you wait in, are all part of that service and how you feel and what makes that experience. And these maps, you know, don't guide anybody around the place. So all these things need to be thought through. And then how you map someone's journey through something. This was again done at a different event with consultants in Nine Wells, but looking at what somebody's experience is as they go through healthcare. And we had a consultant, oncologist, who was talking to a cancer patient and he said in the feedback, I realised that when he was in my clinic, everything was, you know, we do our best to make sure it's a really good experience, that people understand what's happening. What I didn't realise was what happened to him when he had to phone out of hours care. And he went back into primary health care and they didn't have the same information. It actually just fell between two stools, so they didn't even know that happened. So it's actually those services have to be joined up. But the key thing is about getting people involved in it, getting the people who are going to use the services involved in it, because people support what they helped to create. If people know that what they've done has been taken on board, shaped, changed, developed, they will support it. One of the things we do get a bit of stick for is about our sticky notes that we use all the time. People say, oh no, not more post-its. The fantastic thing about post-its is, though, they democratise conversations in that everybody can write on it. It's not just the person taking the notes, it's not just the person with the loudest voice. You can change things, you can see what people write, and you can move things about and think differently. So we'll be using these a lot. So one thing we'll say is write big, use a Sharpie, so you can share what you think. And also use visualisation when you can. How many of you draw? How many of you drew when you were children? So why did you stop? Anybody know why they stopped drawing?
Because they're scared, embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah. Any other reason?
That's getting it wrong.
Is there anything good?
I think there's a final off, isn't it?
That means that you got quite advanced now. Most people stop when they're about 7, 8, 9, 10 because they get more praise for writing and numbers, etc. But it's a really good way of sharing things because you can actually get multiple perspectives when you draw. And when I say visualization, writing big and using Sharpies is also a form of visualization. It's different from actually writing stuff down on a laptop or a computer. It's a way of sharing things. And it gives a sense of ownership. Have any of you ever written a report with somebody else where you've emailed it around each other? By the time it's got back to you, you've no idea what the report was about. So, I mean, that way of actually visualising things, mapping things out together can give a sense of actually going on the same journey and knowing that you're doing it. And then it makes it shareable, because if you all know what you're doing, you can all communicate and disseminate to other people at the same level. Okay, so you still can't draw. Well, you've got Sharpies and Post-its in front of you, so I'd like you to take hold of them. This is a very quick drawing lesson. So, on one Post-it, I'd like you to draw a circle, and then a 5-pointed star. Not any kind of star, but a 5-pointed star. Okay, so if we're going to be putting people at the centre of everything that we do, we've got to be able to draw people. Okay? So this is just stick figure, the next version. Okay, so circle. You start a new Post-it for this. And put your circle relatively near the top. And then your 5-pointed star, just take the top off it. And draw your 4-pointed star, and you have a person. And if you'd like to hold them all up, so I can see that. Excellent. Brilliant. Okay, so if you get nothing out of the 2 days, you can post it, you can take it home and put on your office wall and see I can draw. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Mike.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. So you can all draw now. You know, some people spend 4 years at art school to learn what you just learned in the last 5 minutes. Could you all hold your Post-it notes up, please? One more time. Fantastic. And smile, say cheese. Yay. Brilliant. Right, so you've got some idea of why we're here, what we're trying to do, what you can get for it in terms of the open badges, what service design is about. But one of the really exciting things that's happening right now, what's brainstorming?
No, we're not doing that now.
No, we're not doing that
that.
Is what's happening in Scotland right now is that the Scottish Government have really embraced service design. And I'm delighted now to introduce our next speaker, Katrina Macaulay, who is Head of Service Design and User Engagement at the Scottish Government, who's found time to come with us this evening. Katrina Macaulay.
Thank you. I've been a civil servant for about 2.5 years, which isn't very long. And in my very short life as a civil servant, I've gone through a UK government election, a Scottish Parliament election, a Brexit referendum, independence referendum, local government elections, and now we're about to go through another UK government election. And what all of that means is that I have spent an awful lot of my life as a civil servant in what used to be called PERDA, which is a really unpleasant term, so is now much more appropriately known as the pre-election period, which means that I'm very limited in what I can say as a civil servant during this time. So I'm going to restrict myself. We didn't know that this was going to be the case when we were arranging this. I'm going to restrict myself to talking about things that we're already doing and thinking about and some of the ways that that connects to this. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what all the really cool stuff we're doing or about to be doing right now. I can only talk about the things that we have been doing and how we're thinking. So Mike and Hazel set a really fantastic theme there. You know, service design is about process and people and outcomes. Service design is about challenging how we think about what we need to do in the public sector. Service design is about finding ways of connecting to all the stuff that already happens. It's not completely new, it's not rocket science, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's about adding something to the really huge challenges we all face in Scotland and in every other country in the world, to make sure that when we design and deliver public services to us, they're the services that we need, they work for us, they're efficient, and they're sustainable. And all of those things are actually really, really difficult challenges, and they're particularly difficult challenges in the public sector for really one reason, and that is that the way we happen to have arranged public sector. So as a civil servant and as a service designer, when I go around and work with lots of different organisations, as I do, what I keep finding over and over again is loads of people who are doing an amazing job for their service users. They're trying really hard to understand what people need. And we heard about some of the examples there. There are lots of people from the public sector in here. There are lots of people from our public services involved in supporting events like this. If we're not doing good service design, what's the problem? Well, it's nothing to do with those people. It's nothing to do with their intentions. It's simply a byproduct of the way we happen to have shaped things. We have a public sector that's full of lots of different organisations, and every single one of those tries really, really hard to do a brilliant job for the people that use its services. The problem is that I'm not a service user of an organisation when I need the public sector. I'm a service user of the public sector. Most of us, when we interact with public services, it's not because we have a very narrow need. Maybe in some cases, you know, I need a passport. It's fairly straightforward. But the stuff that's difficult, the stuff that's controversial, the stuff that costs money, the stuff that we need to get right, because if we don't, it's disastrous for the person and costly for the state, that stuff tends to be more like, I woke up, fell down the stairs and broke my leg. I'm 60. I care for my husband, who's been on long-term disability for 20 years. I have a 16-year-old son who's just dropped out of school. I'm a bit behind with the rent, and I'm worried about that, and my job's in a bit shaky. That's the kind of thing that we often deal with in public services. That person doesn't need an organisation. They need lots and lots of different organisations. That person doesn't need a particular service journey from organisation X. It needs all of those journeys to join up. And the trouble, as we often see in the public sector, is when they don't, when people fall through the gaps. They get so far along the journey of resolving the problem of, you know what, my life is in a bit of a mess right now, and I'm really worried, and the consequent event, the consequences of falling down the stairs are potentially quite enormous for me. And when people try to do that and fall through the gaps, that's when the challenges really come. So with the best will in the world, unless we get to the point where service organisations can work really well together to think about that person and think about that life event and think about how to manage them through the process. In the way that Macmillan manages, for example, in the very particular instance of supporting people through the journey of cancer, why do we need Macmillan? You know, we need them because it's really complex. Because when you get cancer, the effects on you, the way that that plays out in your life and in your family's life, are really, really large and difficult to navigate, especially when you've got a problem. Because the other thing that happens, the other challenge we have, is that typically if you've got one of those problems that demands public services to support you, then something else is happening that's really important, which is that you're cognitively challenged. Anybody who's under a lot of stress will struggle to amass information and to make decisions. So we've got this really complex backdrop to all of this. And if anywhere represents what's going to make this better, it's this room and this event and this city and this college and this council. Because in here, we've got what we need to happen. We've got private sector, public sector, government, local government, central government coming together, third sector, coming together to try and think about how can we start to learn how to solve these problems? How can we learn how to work together as organisations to get better at figuring out what people need and solving it really well? And that's the opportunity that I think the spirit of Dundee GovJam really represents. That chance for us all to start to think a little bit differently, and I think that's a perfect way of thinking about it. Service design is not a grand theory of everything. And you can put up models like the double diamond all you like, but that doesn't really change things. It doesn't really make it possible for us all to start thinking about how do we get people in the room. And again, you know, Hazel put it really, really well. People support the services that they've been involved in creating. And one of the big challenges in the public sector is that for all sorts of reasons, and again, I'll be very careful here as we're in a particular period, for all sorts of reasons, too often, we've got into a really antagonistic relationship with each other, citizens and public services. You know, we see each other in a very difficult way. We feel complain, we feel let down, we feel antagonistic. I became a service designer unbeknownst to me well over 20 years ago in Edinburgh. I used to work in an organisation called Horticultural Therapy, and we built community gardens. And we built a community garden in a place called Gilman in Edinburgh. And everybody told us, you'll never be able to do this because the kids around here are just going to wreck this garden. You know, don't do this. It's a waste of money. It'll never last. So we got the kids involved. We got the kids to come and help us design and build the garden. And that garden was protected from that day on by those kids. Or rather, I think probably more by their big brothers and sisters. And I haven't been there for years. I don't know if it's still there, but it was there many years later, untouched. Still flourishing as a community garden. I absolutely believe that. As a citizen, I'm a public service user. I'm a citizen as well as a member of government. Those of you that are here from public sector organisations, we're all citizens under other guises as well. So it's all about, for us, it's about service design as a vehicle to stop us thinking us and them. If we design services for, then we'll never get past all the reasons, all the structural reasons and the philosophical reasons that get in the way of designing good services. So all the stuff that you're going to do over the next couple of days is really about modelling to the rest of this country what we hope we can all move towards over the next few years. A situation where we understand that designing services isn't a special job that somebody does. Just like designing a country isn't a special job that somebody does. It's something we all have a stake in, and the more involved we all become in that process, the more likely it is that the services we design and deliver will work, and that the people who get involved in that will become engaged and supportive of those services in the future. So I'm really delighted to be here to officially kind of welcome this massively important event for Dundee, but also for Scotland. It's something I know I'll be talking about a great deal in Scottish Government in the weeks and months to come, and I'm sure it's something that in the future will hold up as a really important moment in this country. And I think the fact that we've got a council that is so fully behind service design, we've got Dundee and Angus College who are taking the lead, and I think it's absolutely fantastic to see a further education college in this space. You know, really looking at how our college sector can give us all the opportunity to get involved in designing services and can help really upskill this country very quickly. It is a challenging time. We do have a lot of challenges ahead for all of us, and we all know that. But service design and the creative engagement with each other that affords is one of the great ways that we can start to take on that. So thank you so much. I know I'm standing between you and your dinner. I'm really looking forward to seeing outcomes in the pop-up event next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. I hope you all have a brilliant time. I wish I could spend a lot more time with you over the event because GovJams are fantastically big fun, but unfortunately I've got good things to do in the meantime. So I will find out how it went in a few days. Please keep in touch. Any of you who are interested in finding out what Scottish Government's up to in this space, and in the meantime, an absolutely fantastic couple of days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Katrina, for that. And yeah, you're not quite standing between them because they've actually got to do some work before we get to that stage. Unfortunately, now we've been in this room now for just over an hour. I think that's long enough. So what I invite you to do is to take all your belongings with you, particularly the post-it notes, well, including post-it notes and the Sharpies. Just a little reminder, as you leave every day, we're going to be frisking you for Sharpies. We've actually found that when you work with medics, they're the worst at picking your Sharpies. I don't know why that is. But take the post-its and Sharpies with you, refresh your mugs if you want extra tea or coffee, sit outside, and we will kick off in about 5 minutes.